everyone, Heather Peterman here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about an essential oil called Bergamot. It's one of my favorite essential oils, but it is one that comes with a lot of safety precautions that we have to follow. It's also a very well-known essential oil to help with anxiety and help with depression, but there's a lot of other uses that are not quite as well known, so I wanted to get those out there. This video is going to cover a lot of evidence-based information. It's going to cover a lot of clinical uses, which is how I practice as a certified aromatherapy practitioner. It's a snippet to show you what my larger classes are going to look like and what my classes that are designed to lead to certification in essential oils are going to look like and what kind of information that they will include. So if you like what I'm saying, please subscribe to my YouTube channel here on Heather Ann Peterman. Comment, share, all of those things really help circulate this information so that we can help other people. So please, if you feel pulled or called to do so, please do that. So let's jump right into it. This is doTERRA's Bergamot. I like doTERRA for a lot of reasons that I've covered in other videos, but as long as you're using a pure therapeutic grade essential oil, these things that I'm talking about are going to apply to bergamot. Okay, so firstly, when we use bergamot and we're applying it to our skin, of course diluted, you never put this directly on your skin, but bergamot is a photosensitizing oil because it has a chemical constituent in it that causes it to be an oil that enhances the effects of the sun. So if you're going to put it on diluted and you don't cover up the area and you go outside, you can get burned, you can get blisters, and there have been cases reported of people throughout the world. It's a small number, but it has been reported, and it has been reported in some severity, of people that put this on or they go outside and they're outside for a couple hours and they have these reactions happen. Or there was a couple cases of people that were using a tanning bed oil that had bergamot in it, and people were going and being exposed to the UV light. And that was a very bad scenario. There were about 12 cases reported of that. So it is a chemical constituent that is naturally found in bergamot that causes this to happen. There are forms of the oil out there that have that removed. If it has that chemical constituent removed, the bottle will be labeled with FCF, which means furanocoumarin-free bergamot. So if you have an oil that has FCF labeled on it, that photosensitizing chemical constituent has been removed. So if you're going to use it, feel free to put it on your body, but then cover that area up if you're going out in the sun. Couple other things going over the safety of this oil. I don't readily recommend ingesting oils. I think that there is a case for that by very well extensively trained aromatherapists that know how to use the oils, but I know that there are a lot of people out there that are doing it. So I just like to provide the information. So if you were going to use this oil internally, the lethal dose of this oil is 10 grams. Or if you're putting it on your body, the dermal lethal dose is 8.97 grams. So you need to be mindful of that. That's a fairly large amount, but again, I advise not using these oils internally. And if you have small children at home, you need to be aware of this. The lethal dose in children under 3 is 70 mLs. So our bottles, especially from doTERRA, the size bottle is a 15 ml. Relatively small chance of anything happening with that, especially with a lethal dose of 70 mLs. But still, if a child were to get their hands on this and ingest it, it would be a bad scenario. So keep your essential oils up in a cabinet. Think of them like medicine and medicinal, and keep them away from kids. So let's jump into the really great things about bergamot. So applications, like we already talked about, it's a great oil for anxiety and depression. I'm an acupuncturist by background too, so when we talk about the properties of any of the citrus plants, especially anything in like the orange type family, tangerine and bergamot would be included as a type of plant that goes along with that. They're very moving. They break up stagnant energy. They break up stagnant chi. So when somebody has anxiety and depression and they're kind of looping where they're stuck, they can't get past a certain issue, they have resentment, they have fear, they're kind of ruminating about things, or they're angry and that anger is building. This is a good oil that's going to kind of break through that and move through it. So the great way to do it is have the person inhale. So you can use it in a diffuser, 3 or 4 drops in a large room with the door open. You can use a diffuser necklace. You can use a personal inhaler, a couple drops, and just have them inhale it underneath their nose for 4 or 5 deep breaths every couple minutes. And what that's going to do is kind of move some of that stagnant energy and get them past that emotion. Now, when you do that, you may notice that a person has a little bit of a release. So laughing, even crying, letting some tears flow, and then afterwards saying, oh, wow, I feel better. I like to use this oil a lot in my acupuncture treatments to enhance the effects of the acupuncture points that I'm using. And if you're an acupuncturist and you're following that, you know, things like Li4 and liver 3, the 4 gates would be a really good place to apply the bergamot essential oil to right around the acupuncture point, and that really helps start to stimulate and move things. This oil is actually a really great sedative oil as well. It's analgesic and it has an anticonvulsant. So if somebody is in that where they're so worked up that they just can't sit still and they're kind of pacing back and forth and they can't get past this emotion, this is going to be a really good oil to kind of calm them and bring them back down. You could combine it with a little bit of frankincense to really give them that grounding effect once you're moving past the emotion. Some other effects of this oil that have nothing to do with emotions. This oil is a great antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal oil. So it works really good. There's some some clinical trials that show that it's a great oil to use on E. coli, staph, candida, MRSA, and pseudomonas. So if you have somebody who has any of that going on, first line of defense is always going to be your Western techniques and standardized Western care. So if somebody has MRSA, you're absolutely not going to treat this at home by yourself without help of a medical staff. However, if they've been properly seen and evaluated and things aren't clearing up because MRSA can be really resistant to treatment, then this would be a great oil to try to apply topically. You would dilute it down to about 5%. So that would be 5 drops and 5 mLs of fractionated coconut oil, olive oil, something like that, and then put it over the wound. You could do some wound packing or topically on. Would be a really great way to try to start to treat that. I think there are other oils that are better for MRSA, but this does show some promise in being able to use it there. I'm just going to peek down at my notes here. Let's see. Oh, it's really great for acne. It's really great for oily skin, especially for teenagers. So if you have that hormonal-induced acne, especially the cystic type acne, you could use a little bit of bergamot diluted in witch hazel, and to dry up that cystic type acne where people have kind of big boils and lumps and bumps, you can add a little bit of juniper and cypress, which is going to drain that down and help clear that up. So that would be a great way to try to approach that. Going back to my previous point with shingles, I'm sorry, I like to kind of loop back around. Bergamot works really good with tea tree for shingles. So people that have a shingles outbreak often have a lot of pain. There are antiviral medications that are given to help clear things up, but the person still has a lot of pain. And I've found when I use it clinically with the bergamot and tea tree oil, works really good to kind of settle that down and get people past that initial breakout and initial crisis. Other uses of the bergamot, it's a really great insect repellent. So if you're going outside, I wouldn't use it as a standalone, but you could combine it with a little bit of lemongrass, and you could combine it with arborvitae, or you could put a little bit of eucalyptus and lavender, and it's going to help keep those kind of flying around mosquitoes, flies, things like that away. Lastly, I want to talk about the fact that it's an immunostimulant. So if you have somebody that's going through chemotherapy, has been sick for a long time, COPD, emphysema, kids that are chronically ill, this is a really great oil to diffuse and try to boost their immune system a little bit, especially during cold and flu season. We don't often think about bergamot as an oil that can do that, but the research is there and shows that it is beneficial. So that's a great way that you can use to try to boost their immune system at the same time as lifting up their spirits and just giving a nice, clean, beautiful scent to the room that they're in. There is some research out there. Now, this research has not been applied to humans. It's strictly been on mice right now. but there's some research that shows that bergamot can be very effective in arrhythmias, especially ventricular arrhythmias. So this research is showing that the bergamot has a promise. It's used intravenously, so this is not something that we are going to be doing out in the field, obviously, unless you're a cardiologist or you're somebody who's in the position to be able to introduce a clinical trial like this. But it's pretty neat to show that bergamot could have the power to do that. And I would, if I was working with somebody who had an AFib or an arrhythmia, I wouldn't hesitate to use this oil topically or in a diffuser necklace to see if that helps minimize their episodes. So I've given you a ton of information here. This is a lot to digest, but it's just a little snapshot of how deep we can go with these oils and what we can do and why they're so powerful. So I have been saying for a long time, I don't think people give the essential oils enough credit. I think we have to look at them medicinally. We have to look at the power of what they can do, and we have to be careful and be cautious and make sure that we're educated. So please, if you like this information, even if you don't like it, if you know somebody who's using essential oils or know somebody who's involved with doTERRA, Young Living, any of the companies out there that's out there sharing this information with people, please, please, please share this video as an educational piece. Get this information out into the public, and let's empower people to have some strong evidence-based support for what we're doing, and also to have the cautions of when it's not safe to use essential oils and what could potentially go very, very bad when we don't use them with the right knowledge. So thanks for spending some time with me today. Keep your eyes out. Those classes, virtual modules, and things like that will be coming up really soon. So if you're interested, you can always shoot me a message here, leave a comment, or you can visit me on Facebook, which is Heather Ann Peterman, and shoot me a private message there, and I can get you on a list where I can send you some information once these modules are ready to go. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.